posted.
Yeah.
Look, good luck.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But can we see?
I'll lean back. So nobody's covering all.
Actually, I can't even see you.
Yeah, you're not in the picture at all.
Yeah.
I can see it. You're out. You're out, Ed. That's good. You're disembodied in the video.
Maybe I'll come over there and join you.
You look good from
This
the
way I
top
don't-
up.
Yeah.
I'm not scaring everybody away.
We're good to go.
Okay, so today is Friday, March 4th, and I will call the governance committee board meeting to order. Roll call, please, Diane.
John Massidi, John Fitzhead, Carol D'Agostino, Ed Urbanek, Skip's not here yet.
Okay, so we have a quorum. We'll proceed. There are no notes to be approved. Any from the previous meeting? Any legal?
No report.
Old business?
Yeah, so thank you all for getting to me your submitted evaluation summaries. I've closed what the combined sheet's gonna look like. It gets submitted for this on our part, so that'll get submitted before it's due. So that'll be all taken care of on that end. Just want to let you guys know for COIDA that's all set, and we'll be submitting that document.
New business, recommend or not recommend the 2021 property report.
Yes, on page 2, we've got our properties that COIDA and Land Rest have together. Some of the changes from this past year, the Albion Business Park, Jacasa was sold. So that's no longer under our umbrella or Land Rest. And then the acreage that Bomet had purchased off the Waters property, that's also coming off the books on that end as well. So that's where you see the full assessed value total has gone down and the COIDA value has gone down comparatively from last year. So, any questions on that?
Do we need a motion to approve that? No motion to approve or
Recommend to the board.
to recommend to the board 2021 property report.
I'll make that recommendation.
Ed, second by Carol. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Okay, recommend or not recommend the approval of guidelines and policies. First one is the investment policy.
Yeah, so the next 3 policies and guidelines are for the investment properties, goals, and procurement. Went through them. I didn't foresee any need to make any changes off the previous years. For instance, the investment policy, we just amended back in 18. And from what interaction I've had with it the past year, it seemed pretty much in line and fluid to what we need to have for policies in place. So moving forward, I'd like to recommend that we keep the existing policy in place as is and for annual review. And these are 3 policies that have to get reviewed annually on our part, just so you know.
Yep.
So we need a motion to recommend the investment policy.
Is this something Kevin looks over to?
Yes.
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 Mhm.
Which has not changed.
Yeah, there's no changes to the policies. Michael's right. I mean, there was a change previously on the investment policy. I think to change the identity of your lending institution, right, for the depository. But the rest of the guidelines, there's been no changes. Procurement policy, we probably last amended in 2017 when we added some approval thresholds to that document. And the property disposal guidelines really mirrored statute for the state. So you almost don't have room to move in those, John. I mean, they are what they are. So those are all consistent and they have been reviewed.
So we'll have to do 3 separate motions. Huh?
Yep.
Okay, so we need a motion to recommend the investment policy. Carol, second. Ed, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, we'll move on to recommend or not recommend the property disposal guideline, which is the same as it's always been. Any comments? So we will make a motion to recommend the property disposal guideline.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second,
Sure.
Skip, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. And third policy is the procurement policy, which again has not changed, so we need a motion to recommend or not recommend the procurement policy. Moving motion, Skip, second, Carol, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, well, is there anything for the executive section? Okay. Now we'll move on to, need a motion to adjourn. Skip, second, Carol, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, thank you. Move on to the Berlin Economic and Industrial Development Agency meeting. Date is Friday, March 4th, and calling the meeting to order. Roll call, Diane, please.
John Seeley. John
Present.
Fitzek. Carol. Ed.
The approval of the previous board meeting notes. Any discussion or comments? And I'd like to have some entertain a motion to approve the previous board meeting notes of February 11th, 2022. Skip, second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Move on to the financial, Michael.
So right now, the IDA checking account, current standing is $92,940.69. Our pilot accounts at $60,690.31. Revolving loan fund, $23,686.94. Our land rest account is at $97,693.06, and then the gain account is at $143,365.11. As we move past that and start looking at the balance sheets and profit and loss, we had an uptick this past month with Big Guys Campground project closing. So we had an influx of about 35,000 and it's just over 35,000 in revenue from that project. Also the check from the county for their contributions also came through this month. So that was the big push for profit on that end.
What was it, $35,000?
Big Guys Campground, that project closed. They closed on their financing, so that's when we were able to collect our fee for that project for sales and mortgage tax payment. That came through. Expenses, the big ones that came through on that end were just salaries and wages, and then Mindful Media had their charge the past couple of months go through for their marketing and business development, PR support for this year so far. But we had the auditors in this past month too, going through the books and helped us clean up some of the items that were still sticking out on our balance sheet. I know we definitely here about 3 days, Diane.
Yeah.
3 full days, and they helped get everything cleaned up on the balance sheet where it needs to be, and obviously looking at guidelines stuff to make sure we're in compliance with everything. So overall, we're in good standing on that.
Just curious on one thing, the negative accounts receivable. That, what's that about?
Which one is that? What number?
54,441.
It's on the account number is 380. It's on the first page of the assets.
A negative 54?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd have to look at that.
I'm just curious what that number, and why that would be negative.
What page are you looking at?
Page 1 of the balance sheet.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we can look that up and
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Right, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be an
Yeah.
answer until next month, but I'm just curious what that's about.
What's, how's the outlook for the next couple of months?
Greg brought that up. One of the things is as we're looking forward to the rest of the year, what we had budgeted for cash flow and expense wise is probably going to need to drastically change. The one project, Heritage Wind, I talked to Carmen last month and she gave us an update of where the standing was on that. And when they received their permitting from ORS, 27 of the 33 turbines were approved, not all 33. And they can't financially justify the project to move forward without the full 33. So Carmen's working with her team to relocate the 6 turbines and put it in an area that meets US Fish and Wildlife and ORS approval. So that's going to be a process of 3 to 6 months.
That's 6 of the location from that.
Approved, correct. So what does that mean for us? I was budgeting for us to have influx of cash on their fees to hit this year. With them not closing on the project likely till spring of next year, potentially Q1 of next year at the earliest. That's cash that we're not going to have on hand this year. So it really changes the landscape of what we do internally for items for the business park, engineering studies, normal expenses, the marketing initiatives that I started to map out. Those things are going to start changing throughout the year. So to try and make sure financially keeping everything in line with what's coming for cash. So it's something in, next couple of months, we're going to be tight roping a little bit and then come to the bigger game plan for the rest of the year. But, it's out of our control. It's one of the reasons until, cash is in hand, you can't really count on it. But, we're going to come up with a game plan to navigate that. But that's something that y'all should know that cash definitely is not coming in hand for the wind project this year. So,
How much of cash flow hit will that be roughly?
350,000.
Pretty significant number.
Roughly.
Mhm.
Is that going to significantly impact our operation? And then we're going to cut back? Or
We're gonna have to cut back in multiple different ways. I had a buffer in there about 50,000 for things that popped up. That 50,000 obviously gone. There's still some hope potentially this year. Maybe the other things we've got moving will start coming in. Right now, it's navigating that, but it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be a tight year. So across the board, everything's gonna have to get looked at. And just internal everyday expenses, we're just gonna have to constantly look at those.
that's something we can discuss more at length next meeting.
But want to make sure that's on everyone's mind that we'll be tight and this year. But you never know. Things can happen, but that's where it stands right now.
What should your review?
Yes.
Financial?
Unless there's any other questions.
However, we've been successful in the past. We've never had that money before.
Yes, you're correct. You look at last year, we were very fortunate last year that December of 2020, the Western Europe Energy Project closed. That was about 400,000 in cash on hand entering into 2021. So yes and no, we haven't been in that situation, but as of right now, is there any other projects? Will the hotel close maybe this year on their project? Not sure. I know that's
Boy,
been.
it's a hell of a negative cash flow for that, right?
Mhm. Because they're a pilot, they'd be a pilot program. That's the hope. They could get some movement on that and move with that, but I mean,
I think that'll
that'd be 160,000. Sorry, no, 135,000.
That's gotta happen, because man, how to survive without renting out rooms?
Mhm. So, and then little things in between, but
Any questions or comments about the financial report? None. Would like a motion to accept the financial. Skip, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Aye, motion approved. Move on to the committee meeting. Business development. Gabrielle.
Okay, Comfort Inn and Suites, the general manager is hired and on site, as is Medina Hospitality. They're waiting for the reservation portal to be fully functioning. And there's a lot of certainly reservations online. They're waiting now. They expect to be open in the next few weeks. They're waiting now for the satellite. They can't open without the satellite TV connection. And that's been promised and then detained, and it should be again within the next 10 days. Satellite is indicating that. And then and they can't open without the, according to the, their Comfort Inn Suites doesn't want them to open until the coffee makers are in the rooms, and those are detained. But, there's a lot of forward movement there. It looks very good. I stop in and, we're discussing different things. They are hiring. They have met with Kelly Kabbalah, and she's working with them very closely. And they used and they also did a nationwide recruitment, and they did hire somebody that was formerly from was originally from Medina, so he moved back here from West Virginia. So, it's going along very well. I expect that it'll be, it will be up and running very shortly, but it's very good progress. So, we're getting there.
What are they going to charge for a room?
That is all dependent. They're not going to determine that. That's dependent on data that they receive. That data tells them what everybody else in the area is charging, and then they set the rate accordingly. And that's something that'll be set between one of the owners of this this hotel is also the manager of their hotel in St. Mary's. And he'll watch it all, and they'll set it and it'll be a floating rate. So seem to be very comfortable. They've had to do certain progressions, and they've done it based on whatever that data told them. So
It's amazing to me how many facilities are in Batavia, and it seems like there's another one going up, hotel or more.
they're very tired properties.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the ones in
but-
Batavia that, the big one, that it had all the problems initially, it was for sale, the occupancy rate's only 38%,
Yeah,
but it's
but it
worn
looks like
out.
there's a new one going
Yeah,
on.
that's been going up for
Ever,
3 or 4 years,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I haven't been there since I retired, but they only have 1 or 2 people working. They're way, compared to this one, way behind. They were pretty similar.
I think they only have the stairwells up.
Yeah, well, the only thing is, I know when I last contracted, Hampton Inn raised their prices. They went one for year-round price. There was 140, I think, because I would contract to
Oh, would you?
140, I think it was. They jacked it quite a bit. And the downs was 99 for year-round.
So all of those pricings will reflect, they'll have data on all of that. That's an ongoing service that they have, so that when they set this, they have that availability, and they'll make whatever decision that they make. But they obviously, they're very good. And again, if you were to, they run a very good operation. They're very thorough. St. Mary's still is in the Cobblestone family, and it's always been one of their highest ranked hotels. And so I think you're going to find it's going to be well run, and they don't seem to be They still have to get permanent financing. But they have a great confidence in the, and they did their own, and just to step back, we did 3 marketing studies. We did the first one years ago, and the board authorized one here, and it wasn't strong for the center of the county. A few years later, we did a second one because we felt going that way. And ours, we had someone do it that his background was 750 hotels that he had already done appraisal work on, and not connected at all with cobblestone. And that location came up very well. And then before Medina Hospitality committed, they went out and they got another one of their own from their own resources. So they're very, very pleased with the community. And I heard him tell someone the other day, they didn't have this kind of support in St. Mary's that they've had locally from the IDA, from the community. So they are extremely pleased. So we'll see where everything goes. But he's there every day. And now and his mother is there, and she's 70 something, and she's telling everybody, this is not how you do things. And she does them, she checks everything over. She does all of the laundry, and looks at the rooms, and quite a wonderful woman to meet. So we'll keep you posted, but that's moving right along.
No, it's interesting. I go by the Red Roof Inn all the time in that Transit Road, and every day the price is cheap. Like today it was $94. Yesterday it was 81, and 84 is 72. or 73.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't guess that.
It changes every day.
Yeah, that's like the kids.
Yeah.
well, we hope so. They've overcome a lot, so
Yeah.
we'll see where it
It's really
goes.
exciting.
So Michael and I met with the owners, Syke and Michaels of the former White Brothers property located in the village of Medina, and on their property development. They are interested in developing the property, either apartments or condominiums, or they're also looking at light industrial should that warrant it. I think they're more experienced in the housing end of it. We had a very good day with them, and
Where are they from?
they are from, Michaels live in Niagara County. Syke bought the property from White Brothers. They have a operation in Buffalo. So all these flowers that you see, no matter where you
Yeah,
see them,
They used to grow, but they just distribute.
they're
Yeah, it's
distributed.
Claymore Seed.
Mhm.
Yeah, and his main operations are in Maryland. That's where he's developing all his properties.
Wonderful gentleman,
Yeah.
very,
Nice
very,
guy.
very,
They're
very.
extremely well off. Ed Michael lives in, well, he passed away. His father lived
Mhm.
in right off the Lake Shore and right by where he bought it from. Was one of the power projects was initially going to be what put a house up there, move the house that was originally there, but further down the road. And, built the home.
They're very interested in developing that site, and they're working closely with BME, and we'll go from there. But very down to earth, very thoughtful.
For housing, did you say?
Their first preference, they're more experienced in housing, yes. And the only reason BME is looking at whether you'd have to have, BME is looking at, the structural needs. So they're still doing that due diligence, but that
How many
58,
houses would that property?
I have no idea
You have no
because
idea.
they need to get, they have to do they're doing the wetlands now.
Mhm.
They're looking at that evaluation. So, 50 acres may not be 50 acres. I don't think.
Right.
I have no idea
Quite a
till
chunk of
everything
land.
is.
One was right behind the trailer park.
Mhm. So I guess.
Almost all the way back to Salt Works Road.
I know that area of all the house stuff. I need to try. Every time I go to Medina, I keep trying to.
You know
Well-
where the
You know why?
Baxter
It's back
plant is?
roads, you would never. go see
Even
it. Yeah,
understand
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know,
Oak Orchard School is,
Mhm.
it's at the end of that street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at the end, there's no reason to go there, that's why.
just south of the Baxter plant too.
Mhm.
And there's an easement out to Saltworks Road. So you would have, you come in on Orchard Street and they're well aware
Mhm.
that they would utilize Saltworks Road.
They used to have cell tower.
Yes, there is a cell tower there. And I think they, you know, they're gonna spend, and they're they have to be investing some serious money here in pursuing this,
Mm.
but, they are. So we'll see, what develops and we'll go from there. But it could be a nice, opportunity for and you know what, I want to mention, and I mentioned this to Skip and I think I sent you both an email on this. One of the things they were very impressed with, we were able to give them a housing study. The county just invested in a housing study last year. And we were able to give them that. Now, and again, I don't think there's a lot of studies they're invested in, but certainly those kinds of things help. And they didn't ask for it, but we were able to provide it.
Mhm.
So I think those studies and I also sent Ken DeRoller an email because I know he had to be ankle biting on that one. So, but that's that one. We presented we think was a very attractive preliminary proposal to Aaron Bauer on the Earth Tech's interest in the Holly Business Park. And Earth Tech, I spoke with him. Earth Tech is also considering a site in Monroe County, and I anticipate that we will have their more conversations and their intent in the next 2 weeks. They needed to do some further due diligence, but you know, we certainly put together what we think was a very good opportunity.
Would that money go right to our fund? That we can use? We saw that.
Mhm.
Well, I'll be split 50-50 with land rest. Yes, how any profit from that would 50% would get into the idea.
So that takes care of Earth Tech, and I met with Kelly Kabawa on workforce development. And we are finding that some of our companies that have called me and called her, they really are not as, they're not posting with workforce development. They say I've got jobs, but they're not posting. So we've talked some things through, you know, these, and I guess exterior signage in Kelly's opinion is really not the way companies are attracting. And some of our own have to learn a different way of posting and different way of so we're trying to work together. We are working together one-on-one and looking at how we can better address some of these and some of the companies that have called. And I said, look, you know, tell me what you're doing. And then we've collaborated, and some of it is very dated and they can't afford to be. So we'll see where that goes. I'm also working with Leadership Orleans on a presentation this coming week, and we will be doing a site tour, and we will also, you know, be going over some of our the goals and what the agency does and how we do them. And Dan Clips from Stockham Lumber contacted us. He is close to completing his business plan. And it appears that the project is moving forward and should be closed with hopefully within the next couple of months. We have a preliminary IDA application from Stockham related to their purchase. And the plan will be finalized shortly, and I expect that we'll have it before the board, hopefully at the next meeting. So that seems to be the way it's going, but they are great people to work with. And they are working with, their business plan is being developed with Deneen. And she's also working with Aaron Bauer. Maureen Henderson, who is the director of the Nassau County SBA, requested a meeting. And she has a number of businesses from Orleans County, which I was not, some of them I wasn't aware of. They are registered, they're working with their SBA office. They're working out of Lockport. They have an office in the Bewley building. And she's brought to our attention that they have some online, and they're all complimentary, and they're all services that we're going to start extending to some of our businesses. And Michael is going to be meeting so that I think you had a conflict the day that she came, or she changed that meeting 3 times.
Yeah.
But So we're going to follow through on that. And we requested that the Village of Medina consider adding lighting to the 3 entrances of the Medina Business Park because it's very dark. They met last week, and they are going to be adding lighting. And the Village of Holly is going to be assisting them in that because they have their own municipal electric company. So it's a nice collaboration, and it was a very nice opportunity. So Bomet has gone quiet. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything from him, and that over the years has been typical, but we'll have to see if we can get him motivated. Michael and Michael coordinated a call with Kyle Brent and the rail, and maybe you want to go over that?
Yeah, so we coordinated with Urban Anthony, Dennis Elias. He's been working with us on rail grants the past, I think, 6 years now. I think is some of Jim's initiatives of working on pushing for rail replacement, rail studies. Obviously, the one we just were approved for here in the last year. So we coordinated a call with Urban Anthony, Kyle Brent to start talking about the Burns Maddox site and see if we could find something that helps Kyle out with his further development of what he wants to do long term. And we had a great call, a lot of idea sharing, and there's some things that have to come into place with looking at potential rail usage for Snappy at that site, and then kind of collectively future looking, look at phase 2 of if rail came on to Snappy site, extending it out further into what Kyle wants to do for further development, look at that. But Dennis was able to come up with a grant that's coming up here in May that would open up, and it could be an opportunity for Kyle, a private developer, to go through the process and look at finding funding to have that rail be put in, which would be huge. New rail siding right there, and then as well as not only support Snappy, but some support further construction for Kyle when he does decide to build another facility there on that site. Push that into having an opportunity for, you know, all these RFIs that we're receiving, the ones that want rail now. It's been huge. So for us to get out in the forefront and have a private developer want to do it versus us working with our funding to try and figure it out, it's huge. It helps us a lot. So
It must be a huge grant.
it could be. I mean, just to put it in perspective,
Switch is what, 60,000-70,000 bucks.
well, I think it's more than
Is
that
it more
now.
than that now?
I think a switch, you're looking at 150,000.
We have one switch.
Or you didn't?
Mhm.
It depends on whether you could use it
Yes,
we'd use it first in Holly. But if it doesn't, if it's
It doesn't
more
work out.
adaptable to Medina, I don't know, but we do have a switch,
yep,
or we're supposed to have one. We know what one looked like.
right.
Where do we keep
Where is it?
sell it?
She doesn't know what it looks like. so she-
Yeah.
Out in the parking lot.
I sent the guy over from the rail line. I said, go over to that yard over there and tell me if there's a switch, a rail switch over there. And he looks at me, I said, I wouldn't know if there was one. You would know. So go over there.
Yeah, they actually mount them right on a flat car, the panel switches.
Well, when you're over to Gwynn Street, you take a look for me, would you please? And enlighten me.
But no, it was a great conversation. Next steps in that, Kyle's gonna work with Snappy to identify a number of trucks coming in and out. Because the huge thing for those grants are identifying how many trucks are gonna come off the road by
Yeah.
having rail come in. What are we removing from tractor trailers coming in and out through the area? So that's where he's working now. Dennis asked for some additional surveying of the property. So we'll have that on hand, and then next steps will be once I invite his numbers, we'll start to get in touch with GBT and start talking with them about potential items for them. And yeah, and this also ties in with potential for Clay and Ed. You know, they're right next to Baxter. And if that's something we did bring up in our meeting, if that's something they wanted to approach and look at a rail siding for, if they are approved for industrial building, potentially look in there too. So that came up in conversation, and they're fully aware of rail being a hot commodity right now. So that was great to hear that they brought that up on their end. So they could be another private developer that would invest and look at grant opportunities to try and expand that further.
But just to give you an indication on fuel usage, I looked at the one locomotive that we hauled 5,500 tons to from Batavia to Toledo. We used about 600 gallons. So you think about how much was in regular trucks, you
Mhm.
80 ton,
Mhm.
like probably at least 100 something gallons to do that.
Mhm.
So there is quite a savings.
Mhm.
But you said timeliness is not the best.
Well, and that's the thing is, that's a big question of, well, what's your time frame of when you need shipment by? If you're okay with as they come in,
Mhm.
that works out well. If you need it, I need it every 3 days a week or 2 days a week to come in. That might change things a little bit. So.
And we circled back with Runner too, because we had worked with them a couple years ago on rail siding, because they had steel coils, and it didn't work for them because they were bringing in, they had 2 stops in Canada, I think Canada by the time they got over here, and the cost was prohibitive. But we did go back to them and we said, we're looking at this again. Do you need to look at it? So we're trying to touch anybody in that area
Mhm.
and then we are also working with another company. We're working in a company in Buffalo that's looking at some property in Medina. And a prerequisite would be a rail siding.
Mhm.
So we'll see where all this goes. But there is certainly a lot of, there's a lot of activity, and it's moving in a very good direction, certainly. Are there any questions on any of these projects pending or
I have
otherwise?
a question.
Sure.
But I'm not sure if I should ask it now or if we're going to an executive session.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. Are we going to an executive session? Oh, you didn't. put it
I
on it.
didn't have anything unless.
I can ask it. I don't. What, so with the earth, what was
Earth Tech.
Earth Tech, so I know that they have 2 sites that they're looking for, but I think it would really be important for us to get them in Holly.
Mhm.
So we have a proposal out there. Is it anything that we want to think about, that if they say no, we're, it's just cost prohibitive not to come here, that I think we as a board really want them in that Holly Park, right? We all felt that was really important. So,
We can go in.
Yeah, we should go into
Okay.
executive session. We'll
I
table
think-
that
I think-
discussion.
I think, yeah, you want to move it to them? That's okay.
We'll table it for now. We'll move into executive session after we finish the committees, of course. But I do have a question for you about the Amazon plant that's going in Niagara County. Was that something we were ever in play for, or?
They mentioned us, they called me, the site selector called me directly, and we talked about it. We told them what we had. I never heard from that point. And then it was the Invest Buffalo that put it in the paper that Orleans was being considered. We never had anything past that one call. So I really don't think that we were, that far up. I mean, we would have had other calls if our site was that close, but I'm familiar with the site that I worked in that area, and it certainly has a lot of assets, there's no question. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, just curious. So, okay. All right, we'll move on to project updates. Any
Yes.
additional ones?
So we've talked about Heritage Wind, where they're standing right now. We talked about Big Guys Camping, where they're at right now. A couple of the NBRC grants, one for the Medina Team Track, that's in line. They just finished up their EA assessment and sent their findings to SHPO, and there's no adverse effects for that. So that's good. So now they move on to the next step in the process for that rail replacement in Medina. Obviously, you still need to go out there and talk with Dan and stuff at Holly at that potential Team Track site. And look at that further. I think we're going to try and get that out here later in March, early April, and look at Holly a little further. And obviously the study that's come with that for extension of West New York Energy into the south site, but that's all in line. yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, yeah, that's it. I think that's all I've got right now.
Additional discussion or comments? Now we'll move on to the facilities and site report.
Yeah, so where we stand right now, me and Gator had some preliminary conversations with spring coming around the corner, groundskeeping coming up with, update, getting the areas around signage groomed, mowing around the business park, getting those established for contracts for the year. And then one of the grants that Jim had applied for back in 2016 with CFA. I believe it was 16. Had a great lengthy call with Greg Albert, ESD. This has been something that's, this agency has really never had the funding to find use for that grant. The grant was roughly 600,000 for, was matching. So the agency would have had to put in, 600,000 as well in the project. And so funding came through, and ESD has since terminated that grant because we've never used it. But I had a great call with Greg, letting them know what BOMET's potentially looking at with their site and potentially doubling their coverage area from 10 acres to potentially 20 acres. So he believes that this should be a great opportunity for us to resubmit from a federal and state level to reinitiate that grant process for a road extension and infrastructure extension on Marsh 2 Way. So we're going to work through that process with him and Sharon at his office and try and get that resubmitted, because that would help Bo out and justify increasing his footprint in Medina. So really, we're going to try and push that angle and get that set back up again. But it really came down to this timing, and we had to use the funds because we haven't had the funding available to reuse it. So that's where that stands on that as well. But that's what I have for facilities and sites.
We have an LDC report, Diane.
Okay, so my next class starts on April 5th and it runs through June 14th. I started the interview process. We have 14 participants joining the class. So, and I haven't advertised for like 3 years. It's just word of mouth, so that's nice. Yeah. The drawdown, I'm working on the last drawdown for the $200,000 grant. I'm working on getting the drawdown signed, and then I'll be sending it in on Monday. And that's about it. The funds in my account unrestricted has $8,355.19, and the unrestricted money market account we have $79,285.
Pilot report.
Everybody is current, but one company.
Is that one?
Can we mention it? Sure. Oh, for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've sent them reminders and, so no, he's not responding, but I did look last year and he did make the payment mid-March. So I'm just gonna watch that. And then if he doesn't respond, then I'm gonna sit my going.
Yep, exactly.
You don't want it to get out of hand.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually if they're a month behind, I can, I send them a fee of 5%. So,
They ought to get his
you
attention.
know. So anyways, yeah, he's in a month.
I just have a question about the grants.
Mhm.
Are we allowed to structure them so they get some money up front and a bigger portion like in a year? If there's
No.
Somehow we got great safety net to give them money if they're still in business.
Oh, well, that's not part of this grant,
Okay.
Some of the grants in the past, we could do that. Remember we did that with that one photo studio? We released half of it. Remember, we were concerned about
Well,
that. That was a different type of grant.
yeah, I mean, we can, no, I mean, if they're due 20,000, I can give them 10,000 up front. But,
Oh, wait, those were
it's-
the loans.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, those
yeah,
were
right.
loans.
They all
Yeah,
got
they
changed.
weren't
I
the
mean, I
grants.
could break in half the grant, but no, if it's 20, they have to,
Yeah,
they
it
get the
was,
whole 20.
it was when we had the revolving loan fund, and we could
Yeah.
do that. We did that a couple of times. We were a
Right.
little concerned about stability and
Oh,
then, you
yeah,
know.
that was the micro loans. Yeah, we did
Micro.
help them through COVID.
Yeah. I don't know, it's a loan committee. We kind of structured a couple of those.
Yeah. And that did help them.
Is there any way to modify that grant at all
Yeah,
For-
those grants are.
Yeah,
they're-
they're-
they're
though?
really
Is it
driven
like
by
a state
requirements.
mandate
Yeah.
and all that? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Now, what, so, what did you ask them? To help them?
Well,
we
stay
were
in
talking-
business?
I just thought, I don't want to get us off track.
Yeah.
I was talking to George McNary from Chris Jacobs' office.
Oh,
And I was telling him about the program we had, and I told him about the issues with not enough money for administration.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
when I'll just talk to him about this, he would like an outline of the program. And he thought they might be able to fund some of the administration for us. So I said to him, these are high risk. They used to be loans, now the grants. And he said, how many of them stay in business? And I said, I don't know. It seems like we've helped like 450 people went through this class. I don't know. I'd have to get all that for you.
mhm.
He said, well, we'd like to help with it, but we want to make sure it's successful too. And I said, I don't know if there's a way to structure it where you get part of your grant up front and part of it 6 months to a year later if you're still
Oh,
functioning. 'Cause
yeah.
you don't know if they just take the money and close the door.
Well, no,
So-
according to the grant, they have to stay in business for 6 months. After that, yeah,
Right.
so they have to stay in business for 6 months.
But I didn't know if like
That's
you could
part of
grant
the-
and maybe even re-grant
No,
later.
no,
So I
No.
just thought of
yeah,
trying to be
I
creative.
know. Not with these grants.
Do you
Is there
see
any
much
further
of it?
discussion?
What?
Do you see much of that?
What?
Like you get the grants? Do
No.
Are they, you don't, you
No,
have no idea.
no, I don't see any. No,
Yeah,
no, they get
just
the grant,
close.
it helps them
Yeah.
and they're open.
None of
Yeah.
them have
Yeah.
closed in 6 months.
Oh,
either.
yeah, no,
No,
hardly.
It's not a problem.
It's not a problem at all. No.
All right, we'll move on to legal. Kevin?
No reports. no.
Okay, marketing?
I alluded to this when we kind of talked about financials. We're gonna have to retweak what we were looking at a little bit on the marketing side. Just finding different ways to utilize the mindful media group and, potentially, when we do more of the Canadian promotion, when and how much is going to change. So it's something that we're looking into figure out our game plan on. So just you guys a little.
Okay, so executive session. A motion to go into executive session to discuss real estate and or personnel. So anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Well, second. All those in favor?
All right.
Motion unfinished business. Okay, so we'll move on to the approval of the 2021 property report that was recommended in the governance meeting. Do we have to do a roll call on that?
No, you do not. I think you can do all that by motion.
Okay, so need a motion to accept the governance, or excuse me, the 2021 property report, which has not changed. So moved. Ed, second by Skip. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Move on to the investment policy. We need a motion to approve the existing investment policy, which again, aren't any changes there, I believe. Carol will make a motion to approve, seconded by Skip. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Move on to the property disposable guideline. Again, I don't believe anything has changed for that, so we need a motion to approve the property disposal guideline.
So
Okay, seconded by Carol. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. And last, the procurement policy. We Need a motion to approve, which again has not changed. Carol makes that motion. Ed seconded by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. And with that will move to adjourn the meeting.
Yep.
Skip. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Meeting is closed.